All right, everybody, welcome to another week of the Safely Extreme podcast, where we discuss game design and industry topics here on Game Wisdom. I'm, of course, Josh Placer, and joining me, as always, my co-host from Nexus Games, Sharky. How are you doing?
I am doing great, I think.
We're in the
There's just no telling until things get till things progress.
mhm. We're in the pre-holiday mode right now. Everybody's getting ready to shut down, I think, in about a week or so for Christmas and New Year's. And there's still about half a month left before 2020 is finally over. And then the sequel, 2021, begins.
Yeah. And to Ryu is what do I mean? I think it looks like things are starting to progress at a good pace, but looks can be deceiving. And it's looked like this in the past, and it wasn't reality. But hopefully this time it is reality, and we're trucking along, kind of thing. Because in theory, if things are going the way it should be, the way I think they are, this next dev chat, the January dev chat, will have a playable demo. And I've said that how many times now? Because of looking like it was going on track. And the game will probably be pretty far along in 3 months from now.
To your comment about looks can be deceiving, what you're saying is that game development is just really a mimic, right?
Yes, this game development is a mimic.
There we go. All right, so for this week, we are changing or beginning a new format here for the show. We're going to be moving the weird games and kind of just game spotlight to its own show during the middle of the week, and those recorded versions will go up on Saturdays, ideally. We still have to plan a week for doing it. Again, with the holiday season, everybody getting busy, it leaves us with some very weird scheduling. We're still not sure if we're going to get a roundtable this month. It's looking like probably not. We may have to push out to the first week of January. What do you think, Shark?
Probably, because I think, unless we do it really soon, like really, really soon, we're going to be hitting the holiday season. And, once we hit the holiday season, I think, whatever roundtable we'll do, nobody's going to watch it. And it's going to be the best one ever that nobody watches.
That should be the one where Jack and we have our Fortnite ramp out how horrible it is. Uh-oh, is my mic really low?
I gotta raise it up on my side because I messed with the volume the other day with all right, say something now, Josh, and see how the balance is.
Test, test, test. 1, 2, 3, 4.
Because I messed with the other day with live stream I was doing on the dev stream because we started playing music in that. So now I'm going to have to memorize 2 different volume settings for that so I can swap back and forth at the right stream. And that won't be a pain in the butt at all.
Yeah, so like I was saying, this should be the one when we get Jack on, we just ramp how horrible Fortnite is. But unfortunately, he's not going to be available. He has some things he needs to take care of.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And, but...
Ramin back, and then we lose Jack.
Yeah. It's always somebody dropping out or another.
Mm-hmm.
When am I going to drop out? That's the question.
Bum, bum, bum. When Neon Continuum becomes the #1 play game on Twitch. It takes over Among Us.
Yeah. It'll certainly be a lot harder to do after that.
But like I said, we are going to be doing the Weird Games show, or we'll have to come with a fancier title, I think, for it sometime this week. We're still debating on whether or not we're going to do that live. So I guess for the chat watching us now, what do you think? Do you like seeing us all about the games coming out live, or would that just be better as a recorded show? Let us know in the comments. But
I'm kind of thinking live.
Okay. But as we wait on that, like we said in the thumbnail, we got kind of two, maybe mini, maybe could be their own major topics as we discuss, and that's kind of the dominating nature of the AAA news this week, including the Game Awards and that little game called Cyberpunk whatever. Nobody's playing that one.
Yeah, I think it's Cyberpunk 1669. Isn't that what they called it?
Isn't that just steampunk?
Yeah.
Oh, maybe that's the prequel, Steampunk 1675. There you go, Shar. That should be your next game. You can capitalize on the trend right now.
Right. Except for the steampunk trend has kind of already died out.
Yeah. The medieval version, yeah, exactly, David. But let's see. Any other news this week before we get to the biggies?
Well, I mean, sort of our two topics today is the news.
Yeah. Trying to see if there's anything else that came out just worth mentioning.
So yeah, this is going to be a really weird one because not only are we not having the weird game segment, but our news and our topics are clashing into each other, combining, merging into one monstrosity.
Yeah. And that's what happens when the holiday season and award season explodes, right? I've already gotten I already picked my top 10 games of 2020. Have you gotten around doing that yet, Shark?
No, I have not even started.
Bum, bum, bum. This time I'm the one who's early. But we'll see how long that lasts.
Well, you were early last time, too, because you didn't even tell me about it until like the couple days before. I was like, This time I've actually been really busy. I've been really busy for like the last, 3 weeks kind of thing. Like lots of stuff is happening right now. And even more getting piled on top of it every day.
Yeah. And for those of you watching this live, we also have... There we go. Thank you, Mojo. We also have 2 devcasts coming up this week. I guess this will be our pre-holiday discussion. I'll be talking with Mark from Nox Arceus about finally releasing that game and seeing what it's like to release a game for the Apple II in the year 2020. Is that Cyberpunk or is that just time travel right there?
It's modern retro. Or is it retro modern?
Probably retro modern, but we'll ask him about that on Tuesday. And then on Wednesday, Brian Cronin's going to return to the cast to talk about his next game that he's working on. And I guess we'll also talk a little bit about kind of the success of Monster Train as well with that.
Yeah. I'm very interested in hearing what he has to say about that.
So, I guess with that, let's get to our first topic. Is what should we rant about first? The Game Awards or Cyberpunk? What do you think?
Let's let the chat decide.
Alright. What do you guys want to hear us rant about? Because we each have... It's a choose-your-own-adventure stream, I guess.
Choose your own rant.
There you go.
Order.
Choose your own aneurysm.
Yeah. So, Cyberpunk or the Game Awards? Which train wreck will we be addressing first?
We'll most likely get to both.
We're definitely getting to both.
Yeah, especially since the Weird Games, it's going to be its own show, so we have about an extra 40 minutes to an hour, I guess, of free time now.
And the news.
Well, it looks like we've gotten about 3 or 2 noms for the Game Awards.
They're going for your rant rather than my rant.
Any more votes? Last call?
Got a few seconds.
We need we need the Jeopardy music to play.
Do 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 do. I think we've settled it. I think at this point.
All right. Yep. All right. We'll start with the Game Awards, and I guess that will also kind of lead into Cyberpunk, because most likely Cyberpunk will be mentioned at next year's Game Awards. See how it's all circular?
Yeah.
All right. So it, as always, when it comes to December in the game industry, it is the game of the year game of the year season, and that of course means it's time once again for the Game Awards. And Game Awards have always been, I think, a very I'm not sure I want to say polarizing, but just very like weird section when it comes to the game industry and game media. For those of you who are too young to remember, it originally started out on Spike, the channel for men. Hello, Bebop. And back then, it was basically full on cringe each year. Now they've traded in the cringe for corporate advertising and a different degree of cringe. What do you say?
Yeah, I think it's more cringy now than it was to begin with.
Kind of hard to tell. And unfortunately, we can't exactly stream the Game Awards, as I'm sure YouTube has the drones circling over my house right now if I try to directly stream that live.
Like, this probably may even get demonetized because of that, even though there's nothing being shown in it.
Probably. They've been demonetizing the live streams lately, I've been noticing. So that's always fun. Let's see. Yeah. Oh, yeah, definitely going to be a lot in terms of my rants about things. So, as I was saying, there's always been this very weird thing about game industry and game media. And the Game Awards, I think, is the culmination of that. And especially in terms of just how it treats, people who make the video games. And in between the, what was it, like 3.5 hours of advertisements, Instagram posts, and celebrity cameos, there's very little in terms of discussing the game industry there.
Yeah, and that's something that you can notice all across the world is like pretty much everybody craps on the game developers. The publishers crap on them. The consumers often crap on them.
Influencers.
The influencers crap on them and charge them to be crapped on. The publishers charge them to be crapped on. Every and the Game Award show is supposed to be honor them, and it's crapping on them for the most part. It's like game dev ends up drawing the short straw in every direction, kind of thing. And I myself, running my game dev studio, refuse to take that many short straws. Not to mention platforms, Steam and whatnot. They give us a short straw there. And that's the reason why I will not pay YouTubers to stream my game. Like, I will give them a free copy, but I'm not going to pay them to do it. Because number one, paying them to do it is killing my money, kind of thing. And number two, paying them to do it, it's you're less likely to get legitimate kind of feedback, kind of thing. You're less likely to get something of good quality. If they don't want to cover it, and you have to it's like having to tie a pork chop around your neck to get the dog to play with you. Like, the dog is going to be trying to eat the pork chop, not play with the kid, kind of thing. And the kid's going to get bitten. And I don't want to get bitten. I want to like, if the dog wants to play with me, let the dog play with me. If not, let him go, kind of thing.
But don't you worry, Char. I'm sure you can pay everyone here, including myself, an exposure, and we'll call Neon Continuum the best pay-to-win game of all time.
Exactly.
Yep, and what you were saying about how the game industry, how game media treats game development, I think is certainly on point. And it's the same thing I feel about with game criticism as well. That as I was fast forwarding through it, I was watching, the top influencers of the year, and I did not recognize any one of them in terms of what their contribution to the game industry or to the game media would be.
Yeah. But I do want to put an exception in here. Your channel in specific, that, we're live on your channel as well as mine, And I mean, you're not your normal YouTuber. I mean, you still got to get good at your YouTuber reactions and all this other stuff. But you're not like the others. You're less of a YouTuber. That you're more of a game developer that does YouTube, but you're not technically a game developer.
So once again, I'm safely extreme then.
Yes, you're safely extreme.
And I think the influencer of the year kind of is the, I'm not sure what's a term I want to use. I guess the banner, or one of my major issues with it, is that what did they have to do to help the game industry? And I know that it sounds like I'm throwing a lot of shade at them, but it's kind of a legitimate question about the Game Awards. I don't know why any of those games or any of those people won awards, because the show doesn't really, justify it. It just says, here's our picks, and, that's the law kind of thing.
Yeah, I think it's mostly these are the people who paid us enough money to win, and they won. Because we picked their money over somebody else's money.
Yeah. Here's a question for those of you watching this live or recorded. I know that No Clip channel that's been around, that they've really grown in terms of game dev interviews and exposés. Have they ever won like an Influencer of the Year award from the Game Awards?
Not as far as I know of.
Because I would say they would be deserving of it.
Yeah. But they are, they're much towards the side of you, side as you, more game dev than YouTuber kind of thing.
Yeah. And again, how media treats the industry, I think that could certainly fill, its own topic in the future, just like talking about that more in general. But with the Game Awards specifically, there are several things that kind of rubbed me the wrong way. And one of them was just this almost like mock celebration of the game industry. Like, the thing that stood out to me was when they did the Best Games for Accessibility Award. And they just list these games, but there's nothing about why these games would win. Why did Grounded get nominated? I don't know. All I saw was from Assassin's Creed Valhalla was they had subtitles. And I'm sure they did a lot more than that. But the point is, if you're trying to honor developers, it's kind of important to honor what they did to kind of deserve that award.
I completely agree with that. And, the Game Awards doesn't seem to be honoring any game developers at all.
No?
They seem to be honoring the corporate, the corporate side of things, and not anything else.
Yeah, I said that
all just one big commercial, basically.
Yeah, and I
interrupted by other commercials.
And Instagram.
Yeah.
And like I said this on Twitter, that it doesn't celebrate the game industry. It seems to celebrate the people who spend money on games.
And
those are.
And I'm with you on that, Will.
Yeah.
And maybe if I get into a good position, maybe I'll do that.
I would love to do an award show too. And I can just rant about Spelunky for an hour.
That'd be the most that would be the Masochism Game Awards.
There we go.
The Masochism Awards. The Game Masochism Awards. The GMS.
There.
Although not to be confused with Game Maker Studio, who's also GMS.
And again, like, when I look at the winners, or even just the nominees, it's very hard to know why they were picked outside of money spent. Such as with the Game of the Year awards, like, obviously, Ghost of Tsushima, Last of Us, those are easy picks. Why did Animal Crossing get a nom for that? I know people played it because they were stuck inside, but why? Like, why would that game be deserving of a nomination?
Because it's a first-person shooter, visual novel, roguelike tower defense game. That's why.
And then for best game direction, that one I think a lot of people have some contention with because The Last of Us and Naughty Dog were under a lot of fire for very hazardous workplace, focusing on crunch and things like that, and they still won best game direction.
Yeah, because see see how you win best game direction is the easiest way to win it is you take all the developers, you take them and put a chain and you lock them to their chairs so that they can't move and they have to work 24/7.
Mm-hmm.
And when they're getting that much productivity in there, then that is the maximum production you can get. So you're the best production leader at that point.
And if they die, they can't complain on Twitter about, so nobody knows.
Yeah, exactly. And you get the maximum number of production, and you get the best production.
Mm-hmm.
You get the best direction of the game just by making them work nonstop.
Mm. And the one, while we're talking, I'm like scrolling down on the Game Awards to remind me of the train wreck of it. I don't know. I would honestly say that Hades should have taken Best Narrative. It's original. It actually managed to fold the whole roguelike nature into a story that made sense. And I don't know. I think it avoided a lot of the tropes because of that.
Yeah, like I didn't play much of Hades, but I really enjoyed what I liked, what I played of it. I was about to say I really enjoyed what I liked of it.
I hope you enjoyed what you like of it. No, you hated what you like of it.
Yeah, there we go.
Let's see. Best art direction? I'm not. The fact that Ori didn't take best art direction, I think, just completely shows how ugly of a game that is, right?
Yeah, it is the ugliest game ever made. And, that is like the bare minimum of, graphical aesthetics you have to get to be successful on Steam, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I mean, who would have thought that he would have even been nominated, right, for best art?
Yeah. It's the most horrible, ugly looking game. We joke about this now, but 20 years from now, that will probably be true.
Probably. Best score in music, I really don't have anything to say too much on that one. Surprise. Doom and Haze, I think, both had really great music. I did not play Final Fantasy VII Remake, so I can't tell you if it had good music or not.
You played a little bit of it. You played more than enough of it. You played way too much of it, to be honest. That was a train wreck and a half.
What's the difference between best score in music and best audio design?
That's a good damn question.
And why was Resident Evil 3 nominated for it?
I mean, maybe best score is talking about like orchestral stuff, and the other one's talking about like technical edit stuff and stuff like that, not orchestral.
Yeah,
electronic based. I don't know, but it's like, why do you have these two categories?
yeah. Incidentally, I think we're spending more time on this than the actual Game Awards did.
Yeah.
Take that. Best performance. Again, I don't play enough AAA games. I didn't play Ghost of Tsushima, so I can't say anything there. Or Spider-Man Miles Morales. I would say Logan Cunningham was great in Hades.
And I don't even know if that should be an award at all. Because, they definitely, voice actors and such definitely need credit and whatnot. But they're also, pretty much the highest paid of all of us. You get paid more than anybody else. And, they have a really good union, unlike anybody else, hence why they get paid really well.
Mm-hmm.
And they, the work they do is very strenuous, but they do very little work, kind of thing, because they have to do very little work because of how strenuous it is. Mm-hmm. Because I've heard that like a 4-hour a day, with only like 2 or 3 days a week is like way too much for a voice actor kind of thing.
Oh, yeah.
So like when you're talking about the quantity of work, not the stressfulness of it, which I mean they definitely deserve a gold medal for that kind of thing. But when you're talking about the quantity of work, is very, very little compared to everything else.
I do say that, or I do think that they do deserve an award, especially with how much, cinematic elements they bring. Again, a professional, high quality voice actor, I think, does add to a game. But for those you watching, you know that for me, they're not the reason why I would play a game. But I do think they do add. Like we play games where the difference between good and bad voice acting can definitely stand out.
Well, I think voice actors would be better hosts for the show than awards because they're actually connected to the industry and everything. And I think they would be good people to give out the awards rather than get them kind of thing. But I mean, they definitely like earn good credit. You know what I mean? I'm not trying to discredit them. I just think they would be really good to give out awards.
Yeah,
kind of thing.
And speaking to Will's point about diversity, that takes us to the next topic, or the next award, Games for Impact, which I don't know what this award actually means, or like, how do you rate a game on this?
Well, basically, a game for impact is basically however much money, they impact them over the head with. So basically, the more money you drop on their heads, the more impacted they are. Therefore, the more likely you're able to get the Games with Impact award. So it's a pay to win competition where you just whack people upside the head with money.
There you go. And what I find just very odd about this list is that when I look at the nominations or the nominees for it, they all have very low numbers in terms of sales, except for Spiritfarer. That's the interesting part. Spiritfarer had the most sales out of all the games that are nominated. And again, I don't know why Tell Me Why actually won anything, because I didn't even know what that game was until someone said it was. Like, did you hear that game when it came out?
No, I didn't hear of it. As far as I know, I didn't hear of any of them because I didn't watch the award show.
I mean, Kentucky Route Zero definitely deserves something for being in development for so long and finally coming out. And you would think a game... What was that?
So does that mean Star Citizen definitely deserves something?
It deserves something. We don't know what yet. And you would think...
Game of the decade.
Yeah. And you would think that a game that is supposed to explore, living under, Nazi rule in World War II or before that would have gotten at least something.
Probably.
Yeah.
I mean, if it wasn't, just paid off. Anyway.
I mean, it's good that they, Through the Darkest of Times, got nominated for. We did play that one on stream. Not exactly the best stream-friendly game, right?
No, not at all.
But again, I don't know why Tell Me Why won. And again, tell me why.
That's what I was about to go with.
Other than that, it came from Don't Nod, who their previous game was Life is Strange.
I thought Life is Strange was a Square Enix property.
I think it was published by Square Enix, and I think Don't Nod was the ones who made it.
I thought they owned it.
Let's see. Best ongoing game. And that went to No Man's Sky. And that's, I think, another one that's kind of divisive. That, yes, it's been in development for so long because the first version of the game was so bad that everyone hated it.
Yeah, it's been in development for so long because it wasn't a release game when it released.
Yeah.
They sold you a 1.0 game and you got a 0.1 game.
And it is predominantly single player, right? Like, Is it full multiplayer right now?
They did get multiplayer in there eventually,
Because
but I don't know how multiplayer the multiplayer is.
yeah,
I I
like
think it might just be you create a server and people can join in on you, like Factorio kind of thing.
because like here's the thing: the more I think about it, that's not technically an ongoing game. Like when we talk about ongoing, we mean something like live service. That daily or weekly content, continual updates. The game is growing and changing along those lines. Like No Man's Sky just simply went, like
Early access
yeah.
without saying they were early access.
I mean, hell, we were to say best ongoing game, like Factorio should have won that one, right?
Yeah, like if we talk about the best early access game, which is what they basically kind of refer to it as, it would be Factorio.
Hmm. And no Factorial on this list. That is very surprising. Well, again, surprising for us because we look at indie games constantly.
Yeah, and that's kind of the rule of the Game Awards. No indie games allowed. Only shit games. I mean, AAA games.
Hmm.
That's kind of the same thing in a lot of aspects.
And speaking of, then we have the next award, Best Indie. And we have and Hades took it, which I think Hades definitely deserves that. At least I think it was a very solid game.
Yeah,
Carrion was on.
although Oxygen Not Included could have took it too.
Wait, did Oxygen Not Included come out this year?
It came out like 2 or 3 months ago.
Really?
Mm-hmm. That's the reason why they're right now working on the DLC, the first DLC for it, because it came out not too long ago.
Well, according to Steam, it was officially released on July 30th of last year.
I don't think that's right.
Hmm. Because I think it was, because that was on my list for last year. Or I think it either was on or got snubbed. Spelunky 2 made it onto the list. Best mobile game. This is the one that we were both talking about on our when we were playing Factorio.
It's
Again,
going to be Raid Shadow Legends, which now we need to run the sponsor spot.
mm-hmm.
Raid
No,
Shadow
it is
Legends.
Among Us. Because Among Us won Best Mobile Game 2 years after it was released for the year of 2020.
Yeah, because it's brand new, right?
Mm-hmm.
Didn't come out 2 years ago. It came out this year.
And again, this really, I think, highlights part of the issue of this award show that it really only caters to, I think, most money or what is, people consider hot rather than what's critically considered great. Because why is Call of Duty Mobile and Legends of Runeterra on this list?
Yeah, Legend of Runeterra hadn't even released yet.
Really?
As far as I know, it's still in early access.
I mean, in all honesty, I mean, love it or hate it, I would say Genshin Impact probably should have won the award. Just for like the sheer amount that they put into a mobile game.
Yeah, like I definitely really enjoyed uh, uh, Among Us,
Mm-hmm.
and I don't think it's award worthy. I think it's a really good game when you have the really right circumstances to
Mm-hmm.
go with it, and you overlook a lot of the flaws, kind of thing. But like, it's not this year. It has a lot of flaws.
Mm-hmm.
Like even in its, even if in 2018, I don't think it would deserve a award because of all the
Ooh.
flaws and whatnot inside of it,
Mm-hmm.
despite it being a great game under
Yeah.
the right circumstances.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, I mean, like Genshin Impact was released this year,
Yeah.
and it seems like a really solid mobile game,
Yeah.
super solid. So
And,
yeah,
and again, it feels like the award show just caters to people who spend money or yell about video games rather than people who design or, talk about the games.
yeah, they should rename it to not the Game Awards, but the money shouting awards. That
Mm-hmm.
would be a more accurate name because they're not awarding any games really.
Mm-hmm. Best community support went to Fall Guys. And I don't understand the idea of when it says for why it won. The award was for best of the first one, recognizing for outstanding community support, and then transparency and responsiveness. What does that mean?
It means they had an image that was 100% alpha value, so that like there was nothing; it was just invisible, and that was fully transparent. And when they clicked something on there, it was responding.
And inclusive of social media activity. So if you do memes, if you do good enough memes, you can win an award.
Yeah.
All right, and here's something that I need to ask everyone who's watching this. Why is Valorant being mentioned so much? Like, I see nothing about this game from like everywhere that I look. Why is this game being mentioned so many times on the Game Awards?
Because China paid a lot of money. Because Valorant is a China game, and it's very much one of those ones they built specifically to spy on people and convey their information war and whatnot with anti cheats that go into the kernel of your computer, which no anti cheat has ever done before, and they really just mine they not only do they
All
mine
the
all your
mining.
information, but they open up a back door that any hacker can come in and take advantage of,
Mm-hmm.
and just hack right into your system. And they really want to get their China propaganda out there and steal all the information so they can really sink into the information war. So hence China has given a lot of money to the Game Awards to make sure that it's everywhere.
Mm-hmm.
That's why it's everywhere.
Somebody needs to know this, Mr. Game in Chat, right? There has to be an answer somewhere. And here's like the thing that just really irks me. Like every time somebody mentions Destiny 2, it's because of something negative that Bungie did with it. Like I really haven't heard anyone just like sit down and tell me this is an amazing game to play.
Yeah, I think I heard it was a lot better than Destiny 1. But that's about all I heard. Basically it was an apology for Destiny 1, I think. Which, is like, EA apologizing for Battlefront 1 by releasing Battlefront 2 with all the loot boxes and everything.
Mm-hmm.
It's a great apology. Although at least this was a apology that got better, supposedly.
Best VR AR went to Half-Life Alyx. I think there was only really like two solid, amazing VR games released this year: Half-Life Alyx
No,
and The Walking Dead.
no. See, there's only 3 VR games, period. Thousands of demos, but only 3 games. There's the
Mm-hmm.
Half-Life, there's the Beat Saber, and there's the Walking Dead.
Mm-hmm.
Those are the only 3 actual VR games that actually exist. There's a lot of demos, but there's no actual games besides those 3.
Mm-hmm.
Which is one reason why I haven't invested in VR. But there's going to be a 4th when Neon Continuum comes out.
There we go. And then we get to the category, the first one that kind of irks me again: innovation and accessibility, which tells me nothing about why these games are nominated or why they won. For instance, there's a game called Hyperdot. I never heard of that game. Did you?
I mean, like, I would have, but it was so hyper and only a small little dot, so I completely missed it.
So why did that game win? I don't know. Oh, and here's another part that just really is odd. The game has 10 reviews on Steam right now. Like, I don't think a lot of people play that one. I don't think a lot of people even knew about it. So, how did it get into the Game of the Year awards?
No clue. And to Tom's point, like, maybe. I mean, like, a lot of people have said that VR is going to take over as our, only kind of gaming kind of thing, or the lead kind of gaming, and I don't think that will ever be true. It could possibly be true, but it's not going to be true for the next 20, 30 years kind of thing. Because here's the thing, is gamers as a whole right now are generally pretty inactive people. VR requires a lot of activity, and most gamers nowadays are not in shape for VR kind of thing, and especially not for 8-hour sessions kind of thing. I don't think even the biggest weight lifters in the world, the most athletic people, can do like 8+ hours of VR kind of thing. So like, when let's just say that if VR ever fully takes over kind of thing, all the gamers are going to be Chads basically. They're going to be all ripped,
doing parkour all over the place.
Yeah. And it's going to be like, and then everybody's going to be like, why do you waste time in VR? Why don't you go do this stuff in real life? Because I like VR better.
While they're bench pressing a refrigerator.
Yeah, exactly. And like, nobody will understand it, if that future ever comes to be, But I don't think VR is going away or anything. I just don't think it's ever going to be the leading thing kind of thing. It'll be, a subgenre kind of thing, or a subsection that is fun and enjoyable. But, and probably it'll get to a point where everybody will have a VR setup, but, everybody will probably only use that VR setup a few times a week kind of thing in their gaming setup.
Mm-hmm. And then we turn to the double whammy. We have Best Action and then Best Action Adventure. And the Best Action category is two first-person shooters.
Because those are action games, right?
Mm-hmm.
They're not first-person shooter games. They're action games.
Yeah. And again, I don't think Hades should have won this. I think that should have gone to Doom Eternal. Let's see. Neo 2 was nominated. Streets of Rage was nominated, which I find kind of surprising.
Mm-hmm.
A beat 'em up being nominated. Why is Half-Life Alyx for Best Action?
Because it's best VR, and you do actions inside of VR, so hence it's got to be action too, right?
Mm-hmm. And then Best Action Adventure, how they distinguish the two is that it's not only about combat, you also have to traverse and solve puzzles.
So that means it's also Half-Life is in there too, right?
Apparently no. But that
Even
Star
though
Wars...
it does have puzzles and stuff in it?
Mm-hmm. And I don't know, like, why did Last of Us win Best Action Adventure?
As far as I know, the only puzzle is puzzling how the hell did they even make this the way they made it? How did they mess it up this bad? That's the real puzzle.
Yeah, honestly, I think Ori should have taken that, or Marvel Spider-Man for that kind of movement system. Yeah. And again, here's another bit of a question for you: why are there 2 action categories and no first-person shooter categories?
Yeah, that's a good question.
Again,
you'd have to ask Keeley on that one.
Mm-hmm. Best role-playing went to Final Fantasy VII Remake, Shark's favorite game.
Oh yeah, because there was all kinds of roles in there that they were playing. Like like how retarded can we be roles? Like there was all of those. Every role was basically that role. They were all playing the how can we be the most retarded we can and shit on the best game that was ever made.
Mm.
or one of the best games that were ever made, rather. Best game for me. And they what Final Fantasy VII Remake reminds me of?
Mm-hmm.
It reminds me of the same way Konami treated Kojima. You know how they completely shit on him and everything. And the Final Fantasy VII Remake is like they're purposely shitting on all the old team that they quit on them because they were entrenched management and everything. And they're like, "This is the best game you ever make. Let's just completely shit on it." Because like the whole thing about Final Fantasy Remake, the whole goal in there is undoing everything that happened in Final Fantasy VII. So they are purposely screwing up everything on purpose, completely shitting on the game as a whole, and hence the original developers, which is the exact same thing Konami did to Kojima.
And I'm sure you're going to be in line for part 2, or how many parts are going to make of that too, right?
Oh, they're doing episodic through like the Walking Dead thing.
So it should be finished by what? 2065?
Probably.
Given how slow screenings can work.
And they'll only make they'll sell every copy, every little bitty like hour segment for like $60.
Mm-hmm.
So they're turning one, and they're going to milk it with all kinds of filler and everything, and just make it where it's no longer a 40-hour game, but like a 3,000-hour game with very little content in between, and all of it will be like $60 per hour.
They'll do per minute during the Sephiroth kill scene. Like the sword will be coming down, pay $2 to continue. Come down a little bit more, pay $2 to continue.
Yeah. Except for they won't be doing it like that. What they'll do is they'll show it start coming down, and then they'll cut from there and show off filler in another place for like 30-40 minutes, and then that'll be in the episode, and then you'll have to pay the next $60 to get the next one that will have the next segment of him falling down with then 40 minutes of filler kind of thing.
So it's just a Dragon Ball Z Final Fantasy then, right?
Yes. But if it was more like a Dragon Ball Super Final Fantasy.
Oh, good. There you go. We just pissed off Dragon Ball and Final Fantasy fans in the same sentence.
Well, I'm a Final Fantasy fan and a Dragon Ball fan, so. But I say these things myself because you can be critical of the things that you love. Like Dragon Ball Z is one of my favorite series, out there, and Dragon Ball Super is an absolute train wreck, as is Dragon Ball GT. But Dragon Ball GT had the Baby Saga, which was really good. That's the one thing GT had going for it. I mean, like Super had some good fights, but like. That's all it had was just animations.
Mm-hmm. Speaking about animations and fighting, best fighting I think is very contentious as well. Mortal Kombat 11 took that, but here's the thing: Mortal Kombat 11 already came out. It's not it wasn't released in 2020.
Well, I mean that doesn't matter.
Does that mean
it came out in 2018?
Mm-hmm. And why did Dragon Ball FighterZ get snubbed on this list as well?
Yeah, I don't know. I think that was 2019 too, wasn't it?
Yeah. But they've been getting more support as well.
Yeah, but they're not Mortal Kombat.
Yeah. Well, we've been ranting for like the last 50 minutes about the Game Awards, rats. But which, in a way, we are doing more about game coverage than the Game Awards.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, because it's the Ultimate Edition?
So did they release the Ultimate Edition of Among Us?
Not yet, but maybe that will take it in 2021.
Yeah.
And
I need to take every one of my games and release the Ultimate Edition every year.
There you go.
Like it's the Ultimate Edition. It's the Ultimate Edition. It's a Alpha Edition. It'll be the Omega, and then we do the Gamma, and
there you go.
We just have all these editions just every year, and just we'll win the Game Awards every year in
Best
every category.
Best Family Award went to Animal Crossing, which I think that should have been a no-brainer. I want to know why Crash Bandicoot 4 was nominated for Best Family Game, and why wasn't nominated for Best Action Game? Because they say Crash Bandicoot 4 is like one of the hardest games released this year. That's the perfect game for family.
Mm-hmm.
It's how you ruin your family and you hate everyone because nobody can beat the game. Which, incidentally, right? Mario Party should have been on for Best Family that came out this year.
Yeah.
Mario Party, the game that ruins families and relationships all at the same time. And then we turn to Best Sim/Strategy, because those two genres are perfectly in line with each other, right?
Oh, yeah. Like, there is zero difference between a strategy game and a sim game.
Well,
there is no difference between Ages of Empires 2 remake and let's say,
Truck Simulator.
Truck Simulator. There is zero difference in between those two games. They're two sides of the same coin.
And apparently Microsoft Flight Simulator took home the award. XCOM got nominated. I don't know. I honestly would have thought Crusader Kings 3 should have gotten that award, considering the amount of praise that game has received.
Maybe it's a joke, but you want to be in the joke? Is that what you're saying, Raz?
Mm-hmm.
Hey, Mike.
Hey, Mike. Best Sports/Racing went to Tony Hawk's Pro Skater 1+2. I guess it would be considered too outlandish for them to give an award to NBA 2K21, considering all the loot boxes and controversy around that, or FIFA.
Yeah. I'm surprised FIFA didn't win a lot of awards.
I'm surprised Madden wasn't even nominated. You would think Madden would be like a, ringer each year.
Yeah. Every year. Because they release a game every year.
Mm-hmm.
FIFA too.
Best multiplayer went to Among Us. And again, that Valorant game. It keeps showing up.
Yeah, because China is well invested into the Game Awards.
Mm-hmm. And Hearthstone.
Yeah.
I guess for best multiplayer, I didn't play Call of Duty, so I can't comment. I don't know, that list, I would have expected like Fall Guys to win that one, to be honest. What would you say?
Fall Guys has lots of issues, but of that list, yeah, probably.
Mm-hmm.
I think you and I have very similar issues with Fall Guys about not enough content for its initial release, and its DLC didn't even have enough content for its initial release.
Yeah. Maybe we'll take home best ongoing game of 2021.
Yeah.
Except for one problem, Rats, it didn't come out in 2020.
I don't know if he was being sarcastic. He might have been being sarcastic.
And then Content Creator of the Year went to Valkyrie, who I've never heard of. And again, I don't know why any of these people were nominated.
I've heard of her because she's done a few Among Us streams with Jacksepticeye, which I watch. Okay. The only popular YouTuber I watch. And I didn't see anything special from her during that entire time.
And this is the problem. I don't know why any of these people deserve an award. And again, that's kind of the issue when we talk about the award show in general. What did any of these people do to make the game industry better? They earned lots of money. They became famous for playing video games, but how does that help the game industry?
They charged a lot of developers a lot of money.
Probably.
To play their games. And then probably shit on them. I mean, that's worthy to get an award for Game Award, right?
Mm-hmm.
You screw over the developers, you get an award for that.
And remember, every year, the Content Creator of the Year award is kind of cursed, or it's been cursed the last few years. So we'll see what happens to these people in 2021 if any scandals occur.
Well, usually I think what happens is after, they blow up kind of thing because of the award, and then people go digging into their history and everything and find the bad things they've done.
Exactly, Ryu. And I need to make an hour-long profanity-fueled stream all about some little game called Neon Continuum.
Yeah. See, my hair's already blue. See, if you see the blue circle behind me, that's actually my hair. It's actually an afro, like Josh.
And then we come to best debut game. That again, I don't know why this is an award category. Like, it just seems like a very random one for this. And speaking about random, Carrion's on this list. That's not their debut game. I mean, it literally isn't a debut game from a Phobia Game Studio.
It's a debut game that they've heard of.
And
it debuted into their ears.
And Raji and Ancient Epic got on this list, and I don't think that game deserves to be nominated for an award. It just wasn't, I think, that good of a game, unfortunately. I would have said of the list, either Mortal Shell or Phasmophobia. Phasmophobia should have been on it, and Phasmo did win. I haven't played that one yet. Although, I don't know, I would say, I think Mortal Shell definitely deserves some praise. That is really the first game from that studio. To make a very competent Souls-like as your first game, I think deserves some praise. Not the best Souls-like, but again, we've seen worse from established studios in the Souls-like genre.
Like Sekiro.
There we go. There's the other hated game we can bring into this. Best esports athlete. I don't know any of these people, so I can't, tell you one from the other.
And can you really call somebody who sits at their computer moving their mouse and keyboard an athlete? Like you could call him the best esports player, but an athlete?
Oh, that's a topic for another day, I think. But why are there... Here's the... Again, this is part of that issue about this award show. There are 3 different awards about esports people. There's Best Esports Athlete, Best Esports Coach, Best Esports Event. What did those have to do with the game industry?
Everything. I mean, without esports, the game industry wouldn't even exist.
Nobody ever played Mario or Final Fantasy.
Not before there was esports.
You could become the best esports player of Final Fantasy VII Remake.
I'll decline.
Best esports game went to League of Legends, and Valorant's on the list again. This is like that time when we did the Weird Game Center. That same publisher kept showing up for every one of the games we were looking at.
Yeah. Or the one time where we got the part 2, part 3, part 4, part 5 all in the same like 2 days or so.
Yeah. And I guess as part of the issue with Best Esports Game, 4 of the games mentioned on this list didn't come out in 2020. I think was Valorant released in 2020?
Valorant hasn't even been released as far as I know of.
I'm surprised there's not a Best Early Access game on this category. Oh wait, and here's another award about esports. Best Esports Hosts. Why is this part of the Game Awards?
Because it has everything to do with the games. Because before there was eSport host, there was no games. We couldn't have any games before that point.
Oh wait, there's another esports award, best esports team. I think there's more esports related awards than there are game awards.
That's because esports are the absolutely pinnacle of games. Because without them, the whole game industry falls apart. Like if esports cease to exist, then there would be no games.
Mm-hmm.
Like Chromasia that I made, the word of the day, it wouldn't have existed if it wasn't for esports. Because
Mm-hmm.
tactical RPGs, with strategy based, good UX design, that kind of thing, yeah, could not exist without esport players.
Mm-hmm.
Couldn't exist.
So
There's no
that
way.
So we just spent about an hour, a little less than that. And again, I think we spend more time covering the video games and developers of the awards than the award show itself. Because the award show is what, like 4.5 hours long? And I think most of that was just advertisements and world premieres.
Speaking of which, it's time for our world premiere.
Yeah. And then you go from one world premiere to another.
Exactly.
And people are still talking about how Jeff kind of like really dissed the Amplitude developer. Or the ones who did Dungeon of the Endless.
What did he do there?
He was just like, yeah, that game looks nice. Okay, let's move on to this next one. He just like kind of like completely like changed his mood when he was talking about that game. The ones I'm excited about are Evil Dead, although I do see some red flags with it. Um, what was it? Dark Tide or War Tide, wherever it is, the one from the Vermintide developers, the Dungeon of the Endless game, and Back for Blood. Those are the four biggies for me.
Yeah, Grim, that's what we were talking about before. About this is supposed to be a show for the industry, but it's not.
Mm-hmm.
It's pretty much shitting on the industry for the most part.
And again, like speaking about that, there were more celebrities giving awards than there were actual game developers.
And YouTubers getting awards, and esports players.
Mm-hmm. And again, like they spent a lot of time like talking to people who were playing video games. That's great and all, but that's not the industry. That's not game development. That's people who play games.
Hmm.
Yeah,
A game player is not the same as a game developer.
really? I thought if you just play 500 hours of games, you know all about game development.
No, no, no. See, game players are above game developers. See, game developers are at the bottom, very bottom of the tier list. You know, first there's first there's the platforms, and then there's the publishers, and then there's the content creators, and then there's the players, and then at the very very bottom is a game developer. So like all the shit rolls downhill, right down to game developers because they're the least important of the entire process.
You don't need game developers to make video games.
Yeah.
Yeah, I would agree with that, Nader sign about they did seem a little generic. I'm just hoping again that we do see a little bit more in terms of that improvement, or more in terms of what they're doing in terms of Left 4 Dead. So it's not just Left 4 Dead 2.5 or whatever.
Yeah.
Yeah, so again, like as we went over this entire list of the award show, it doesn't seem like it really celebrates the game industry. Again, it celebrates, I think, the games people spend the most money on.
And the people who make the most money.
Mm-hmm. I'm still not sure why that Christopher Nolan gave the award for best game of the year. I don't know. Like, is he working on a game that I missed?
No, I think he likes games. I think is the thing.
Yeah. And surprisingly, no Shigeru Miyamoto, no Hideo Kojima. Like, where were they? I thought like Hideo Kojima and Jeff Keighley are like tied at the wrist or something.
We needed more Norman Reedman and Keanu.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, Keanu gave an award too. I'm sure he'll be at 2021's award show, right?
Yeah, and 2077's award show too.
Which does raise a bit of a question. Why was anyone from CD Projekt Red there, to give these awards? Why did Keanu Reeves deserve a host nom or host placement?
Because he's famous.
Oh, that's great and all. But it once again ties into this question. What does this have to do with the game industry?
See, it's all about famous people in the games industry.
Just not making games.
Yeah. Nobody cares about the people who make the game.
Unless you make The Last of Us 2.
Yeah.
And then you
No. You're not making The Last of Us 2. You're directing them into slave labor by
make The Last of Us 2.
to the. Yeah. See, it's anybody who shits on a game developer that gets in there, or anybody that has pretty much nothing to do with it. If you're famous or if you're shitting on game developers, that's where you get a game award.
Death Stranding took it for last year, a lot of the awards. But maybe we'll get it for 2021 for some reason.
It'll be 2022. It'll win Best Motivational Experience.
Mm-hmm. I think they're still burnt out as well. At least from what it sounds like.
And they're not going to get a break anytime soon. Because it's after release when crunch really, really gets bad.
Oh, yeah. It's super crunch now.
Yeah. Super duper duper crunch, because they went to super crunch like 3 or 4 crunches ago. Which we'll be getting into that in our next half of the show.
Yeah.
Is now a good time to transition over to that?
Just one last thing, and then we'll switch over. So here's my question for you, Shark, as well as for the audience watching us live and recorded. What award category do you think should be part of a quote-unquote game awards that was not put in this one, or was not listed?
Best publisher. Because they're really good at shitting on developers and whatnot. So, it's a perfect fit. And it's the best publisher. We should have EA and Warner Brothers and Take-Two Interactive, and they should be nominated for best publisher. Be perfect.
There is best indie game, Rats. I think Hades took it this year. Best fighting, best family, best sports. I just saw it.
Most difficult game. Yeah, Sekiro wins that every year.
I think for me, well, I'm going to cheat because I have 2. One would be, I think, most innovative in terms of design. There's always most in terms of accessibility, but I want to see...
Flappy Bird would win that one.
What was that?
Flappy Bird would win that one.
And then the other one would be, I think, best early access, or best a starting game, or something along those lines.
No Man's Sky would win that one.
No Man's Sky would win best first-person shooter too, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Well, let us know what you think in the comments below. Now that we have a lot of people watching, I'm going to ask this again before we switch topics. Regarding our Weird Games show, turning that into a full thing, do you guys want to see us cover that live or recorded? Let us know. Yeah, Game Mechanic of the Year would be a good one as well. But
yeah, that would be the mechanic in that would go to Death Stranding, the mechanic of cutscenes.
You mean a 2-hour cutscene?
Yeah.
AKA a movie.
Yeah. That would be the best mechanic of the year.
All right. But with that, we're going to trade one rant for another. And it's time to talk a little bit about Cyberpunk 2077. Again, that little game that just appeared one day. Nobody ever heard of it before. So I'm going to pass the mic over to Shark. I'll let you lead things off.
So, we need to prerequisite by saying that Josh and I have not played Cyberpunk 2077. But what we have seen a lot of news reports, a lot of, visual reports. We've seen the things happen in there.
Mm-hmm.
And, lots and lots of things have really gone wrong with this game. And we're going to talk about it here. We're not saying it's a bad game by any means. But
not yet.
Not yet. But like it's we're definitely going to be pointing out the issues that are very, very clear and whatnot. Like for example, all the crunch leading up to the thing from the studio that said they weren't ever going to crunch.
Mm-hmm.
They might be up for the best director next year.
Maybe. And best RPG, and best first-person shooter, and best action game.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and a lot of people have been talking again about the state of this game at day one, and just how much of a failure it is, depending upon what platform you're on, and the numerous bugs and issues. And again, I think it's important for us to make a very big clarification. This is not a knock against the people who work on this game. The QA testers, developers, programmers, artists, all those people. This is not a knock against them. But this is a knock against, the director or the management of CD Projekt Red.
Or publishers.
Mm-hmm.
The marketing department. Because they all pushed for the game to come out before it was ready. Like had the game had a proper time to actually cook in the oven, basically, the game would have not released in a state like this. Mm-hmm. And this is in large part director's fault, the marketing department fault, and a lot of these other departments along those lines, and not the developers, because the developers are trying to get it done.
Mm-hmm.
And those departments also have an issue with the release dates, the delays and whatnot. Mm-hmm. And I'm going to say this, and it's going to say it's going to sound counterintuitive. It's going to sound simply extreme.
Mm-hmm.
So basically, I don't think they should have delayed the game as much as they did. And mm-hmm. when I say that, I mean they should have delayed it less times, but each time longer.
Mm-hmm.
Like that first delay should have been till today, basically. Because it was very unrealistic terms to think that they could get that thing done and running right by this time.
Mm.
More or less. The 6 times they delayed it before?
Yep.
And that was crazy.
And let me just read the comment here really fast. To WRF's question about size of team and budget, according to Google, again, I don't know how accurate these numbers are, that they're saying that it costs about $314 million to develop, or was the budget of Cyberpunk, and the size of the team was around 500 people for it. Now, again, these are, Google News pieces, so I don't know how accurate that is.
Yeah. And, of course, the way team scale is the more people you have, the less each person adds to the game, mm-hmm. essentially. Because, like, if you want a maximum team that gets the most things done per money spent on it, you want a 15-person team pretty much.
Mm.
Because any bigger than that, and you're going to get into trouble, or management trouble kind of thing. Because basically, a 15-person team can be led by one person.
Mm.
A 500-person team cannot be led by one person. What you have to do is have basically one person overseeing, one management role overseeing every 10 people kind of thing, and then you have to have a manager that's over them for every 5 of them, kind of thing, and then you have to have a manager over them for every 3 of them, and then you have to have a manager over them for every 2 of them, and then you have to have a manager over them for every 2 of them, and then you have to have a manager over them for every 2 of them until you get all the way up to your 500 people, kind of thing. And those managers and whatnot, they don't do anything for the game. They're just making sure that no, it's not that they're not doing anything. They're not working on the game. What they're doing is being sure that all the commands and all the things that it's wanting from up top trickle down in the right way, kind of thing. Which is the reason why, it ends up being, where you have, I don't know, out of those 500 people, probably only like 200 of those are actually working on the game, and the other like 300 are working on things that have nothing to do with the game, other than keeping the game developing, because you have to have all this management, you have to have all these things, you have to have, what do you call that board that makes sure that nobody's mistreating anybody else?
I don't know.
The one you go report to when somebody, sexually harasses you?
HR?
I think you cut out there.
Oh, test. I don't think so. Yeah,
Can you guys hear him? No.
Uh-oh. No, Shark is cutting out.
Let me try to fix that. Test.
Yep. Can you hear me? Hello?
Yeah, it's not working. Let me try.
All
right, test.
Yep, I'm here. Hello?
Yeah. It's Discord / my computer.
Alright, well, I think we may have to have Shark restart
there we
the
go.
call. Oh, are you there?
Yep.
Okay. Yeah.
But it's that HR, yeah. There we go. Yeah, HR, there will be a bunch of people in HR that have nothing to do with making the game. They're just there to make sure that the game is actually able to actually be made, because people don't mess with other people, kind of thing. And like, there's just so many issues, that you get to when you get to such a big size.
Yeah, and it's why when I speak to a lot of the new developers, I'll say that, I remember when I spoke with the developer who's working on the game Bullock, Trayvon, I think that was his name. Like, he said he doesn't want to manage a team more than 30 people, because when you get past that, you're not really, able to have direct control. It's just not possible. Like, even the greatest, project manager in the world can't oversee 300 people by themselves.
Yeah, that would just become micromanagement nightmare.
And with, like, Cyberpunk, again, this has been, I think, one of those issues. And to another comment from earlier about, was The Witcher 3 this bad at launch? I did not play it at launch. I cannot say one way or the other. I know The Witcher 1 was really bad at launch. I mean, like No Man's Sky bugginess is just not working, but they had to release an enhanced edition of that.
Yeah. And, like, the Cyberpunk 2077 has released in such a buggy state that it's actually makes Bethesda games look not buggy, which is amazing, because like Bethesda has never looked so good.
And that is the thing about this, is why aren't more people complaining about Cyberpunk 2077? Considering all these bugs. And it's that very weird, hypocrisy when it comes to, the game that you're looking most forward to, you can ignore all the issues that you would, hang another developer for.
That's called fanboyism and fangirlism.
Oh, yes. I saw people on Twitter, like, begging CD Projekt Red for Cyberpunk chairs and stuff like that. Which, to reuse comment from earlier, that would be part of my goal, right? I need to get a gaming chair.
Yeah, I've got a gaming chair now. You've seen it, didn't you, Josh?
Yeah.
I actually really like it. Of course, this isn't just any gaming chair. This is a what's the word? Starts with eco.
Eco-friendly?
No. Economical? Is
Something.
that it?
Oh.
The one that's all about posture, making sure it's healthy.
Ergonomics?
Yeah, ergonomics. There we go.
And to
Ergonomics.
Soren's comment, so bugs are not so extreme. Would they be safely extreme then? What would
Yeah.
be a safely extreme bug? A bug that breaks your game, but it gives you like 10,000 in-game currency for free.
No. It needs to break your game it needs to either happen a lot and be of little effect, or it needs to barely happen at all but be a massive effect. Or Mass Effect for
There you go. Which they announced a new Mass Effect game too. And according to what we're looking about Google, so the game was in development for about 7 years. And here's a kind of a weird question, because we've talked about this before in terms of game length. Should Cyberpunk really have taken 7 years to develop?
I have a theory behind that.
Mm-hmm.
And it goes back to that top branch, mismanagement and whatnot, which they'll be up for Game Award, next year for that mismanagement. And what I think happened is from seeing everything, like everything that was built up to that point was like it's all story based. This is going to be a really story based thing. And then the management over there started seeing dollar signs in their eyes, and everything is like, what if we make this more open world and multiplayer and go like a GTA, but cyberpunk kind of thing. And like the game has a lot of those elements now, and they're all like really jank, because they didn't have as much work in it as GTA did. And and also the whole wise monetization kind of thing. It's like you're just selling the game. No, there's a multiplayer now and all this other stuff. And it's like, yeah, this is just seeming like they're just trying to take a single player game and turn it into a GTA kind of thing and make all the money in the world off of it because they've seen how much hype and whatnot on it. And that has wrecked a lot of the single player aspect of it, hurting the game that was going to be really good. And then all that causes all the bugs, the longer development time, the all of these issues that we're seeing now, I believe, is a result of somebody seeing dollar signs and saying, let's just make this into a GTA version of this game. Rather than just a single player experience, because single player is dead, and we get only multiplayer games from now on, kind of thing. Like we've been hearing for how many years? That's exactly what it seems like to me.
Yeah, and to Will's comment there, yeah, long the game doesn't mean more polished. It often means the path is wrong or the team is mismanaged. And yeah, again, like what we've seen, even with something like Cuphead, that Cuphead went through numerous revisions as the game grew in scope. And it raises that question of, is it better to release a small game so you can work on more small games over like a period of time, or put all your eggs in one basket and go over that big YOLO game? And more often than not, the big YOLO game is far more riskier.
Yeah, I mean, we've seen this as experience, like through all these game developers and whatnot and all the releases. And generally, when you're looking at games that succeed in some form or another kind of thing, we're not talking about financially, but financially is definitely a part of it. But we generally see that games that succeed kind of thing in most forms of success kind of thing is that they are developed in the 1 to 3 year development cycle kind of thing. Yeah. You see pretty much everything that's less than a year come out and feel very underbaked, very incomplete kind of thing, and just like missing, it's like this is a good concept, but where's the rest of the game kind of thing. And then with everything like, generally you see above 3 years, it's like this is overbaked, this is burnt, this would have been good had they not done all this other stuff. Like Cyberpunk, how Cyberpunk would have been really good as a set along, single player game kind of thing. But when they tacked on all the multiplayer and the open world and all of this stuff, seeing those dollar signs and everything, it degraded the value of the game. Cyberpunk is by far, commercial success because it broke even on its first day due to all the pre-orders and whatnot. But like, it's not what it should have been kind of thing. And, it's not a good GTA thing either.
And
it could be eventually, but not right now.
And I think it's also important to clarify that development in indie is different than development in AAA. That if you're a small team, like if you're only like 4 or 5 people, we're not expecting you to do the work of, 100-person team in 2 years.
Yeah. And we're but Eric says that CD Projekt Red is an indie developer. Because they're not a corporation and they don't have 500,000 people working for them.
Well, isn't EA indie now?
I mean, EA's always been indie. Except for when they first came out. They were AAA when they first came out. But they're indie now. They've been indie since they were rolled out.
And Disco Elysium, as a point of comparison, took 5 years to develop.
But we're not expecting you at indie to do AAA's level of work in 3 years, but we're expecting you to do indie level of work for 3 years or 2 years or 1 year kind of thing. Because like when you go over that limit, whenever you go outside of that 1 to 3 year period, you often have one of a few things happen. It goes over because of mismanagement, because things were not managed properly. Things were not. You didn't scope things right. You didn't. You overscoped. You decided to tack on a whole bunch of things that didn't belong, like open world, multiplayer stuff. You mistreated your employees. You crunched. You did all kinds of other stuff. That's what we often see when you go over the 3 year mark. And when you go under the 3 year mark, it's like, under the 1 year mark kind of thing, it's like, yeah, this game could have been really good. This has a really good concept to it, but I'm missing like everything else. It's like, it's like here's like a puzzle, and there's like, like 8 puzzle pieces. Let's just say it's a 20-piece puzzle. There's like 5 or 6 puzzle pieces. It's like I can see the face of the character there, but I can't see any of the details in the background or anything else, because like all the other pieces are cut off. There is none.
And to Soren's point, again, like 3D games definitely take a lot longer to make. That's just the nature of that scope. Like,
not necessarily, because in general, yes, but in general, really doesn't really show it, because like if you're doing like you can do a low poly game and do it really quickly, kind of
first
thing.
generation 3D.
You can do a low poly game in a game jam really easily, kind of thing, in 3 days. So like, and it all depends on the amount of polish, basically. Like, and also like a 2D game can take way, way longer. Like if you have like all of these characters kind of thing and all of these, animations for all of them, and animating 2D is a lot harder than 3D, because 3D animation is relatively quick compared to 2D animation. So like making the model, it takes longer in 3D, but shorter animation times, where 2D is longer animation times and shorter uh model times. So like, it's a aspect of time to which way you spend more time, and depending on what game you're going with, to how animated it is and whatnot. And of course there are shortcuts for animation on 2D, depending on what kind of 2D you do. Like if you have a art that is really good with like Spriter or something, you can do basically the same style of 3D animation with your 2D sprites using Spriter. But not all artwork will work like that. Specifically, pixel art really doesn't work with that, and whatnot. But like in general, 3D is longer, but it's not always the case.
And I think, again, every development is different when it comes to the work that you're doing, and again, the style that you're making. Like, we've seen some amazing 2D games, such as Grease, Owlboy, Cuphead. Again, Ori being, I think, the ugly example. Hollow Knight. And yeah, and that's a really good point, Nair-san, about when they brought Keanu Reeves on. Like, what did that do to the development of the game?
Yeah.
It probably added another 2 years of development.
Probably.
Yeah. And again, that's kind of the challenge when we talk about major AAA development like that. That it all of a sudden becomes, any change reverberates out in massive ways. And it's one of these that we've talked about before, that indie developers can pivot a lot easier compared to AAA.
Oh yeah. Like indies, that's where indies really accelerate at. They really accelerated pivoting, where they suffer in amount of workload, where AAAs really accelerate in the amount of horsepower they have, and the not amount of pivoting. It's like, it's okay. So if we were to put this in car terms, indies are like slow cars that can do like 360s on a dime kind of thing. And AAA are like dragsters that you fully turn the steering wheel and you're going like you're listing to the left. Kind of thing.
Yeah. And a mistake in indie can be fixed relatively easy, or at least on the smaller scale. A mistake in AAA can take who knows how many hours and millions of dollars to recorrect. As we saw with, something like Mass Effect Andromeda and Anthem.
Exactly.
And to the gameplay, here's my question. Again, this is coming from someone who hasn't played the game. What's the core gameplay loop? Because from everything that I've seen or I've been described by, it just sounds like Deus Ex.
It's all over the place, because originally it was a single player game, and then they added the open world, and everything can happen kind of thing, like GTA. So it's like you take a single player game and you cross it with a little bit of GTA, and that's kind of what it is. The core gameplay loop's kind of all over the place and not really cohesive. And I think that's one of the things that really, is going to downplay it once we do get to play it, because I will be playing it eventually. And I'm sure Josh will be too.
Maybe. We'll see.
You'll take it on a 2-hour spin.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah, that will drive the fanboys crazy, won't it? Worst game ever, only played it for 90 minutes.
Yeah.
And they've already announced...
You're not going to go longer than 90 minutes? You're not going to take it up to the 119 minutes?
What if I take just 10 minutes? And of course, they've announced, DLC, post-game support, stories, and all that stuff. And of course, that means more crunch and more time spent developing it.
Yeah, but they've delayed all that stuff to work on the actual base game.
Yeah. Get the game to 1.0 before they actually work on the rest of the stuff.
Yeah, I know Art got a lot of flack for that.
Mm-hmm.
You remember how they were working on DLC before they were fixing the base game?
Mm-hmm. And speaking of which, Ark got a reveal that there's an Ark 2 starring Vin Diesel and a cartoon about Ark that doesn't have Vin Diesel in it, and I don't know what's going on there.
I mean, the cartoon should definitely have Vin Diesel in it.
Everything should have Vin Diesel in it, right?
Yeah.
Have a Vin Diesel be a character in Neon Continuum.
Actually, that would actually technically be a good fit.
Mm-hmm.
For like a Cyberpunk character kind of thing.
Yeah.
Like that would actually be a good fit, especially with his goggles like he wore in what was it, Pitch Black kind of thing.
Yeah, Chronicles of Riddick.
Yeah.
And then there's of course the talk about AAA side, and even getting back to the game industry or the Game Awards, that a lot of weird stuff came out about how the game was developed, including them having this whole token. You do a good job, they give you a token that earns you more of a bonus when the game is released, but only if the game gets high enough review scores.
Mm-hmm. So as a whole, you get paid a bonus based off of review scores, but with a twist of now you've also got to get these tokens on top of that to even get that.
Mm-hmm.
So there's it was not just the normal bad gate, but another gate on top of that bad gate.
Yeah. And probably the funniest thing I read this week, I think came from, Rami Ishmael, somebody he quoted that saying that, there was, no explanation about the rules of this. Can people, duel each other for additional tokens and then turn into a Yu-Gi-Oh! Meme of the token system? Just, trying to do your job, see Project Red, all of a sudden somebody steps around the corner and says, I challenge you to a duel for your tokens.
It's time to do the duel.
Mm-hmm. And then crunch for 20 hours.
Yeah. And from what I got is that they got the tokens for crunching.
Mm-hmm. Yep, there you go.
Yeah, they did come back on it and be like, yeah, but a lot of people are raising us think about this. Let's get rid of the whole review part, but leave everything else.
Yeah, they got rid of it, but not after they, punished everybody for using that system.
Yeah.
But don't worry, I think Cyberpunk will take home Best Direction next year, right?
Yeah, most definitely.
Sponsored by Monster Energy Drink.
Yeah. And they didn't crunch at all. There was no crunch, just like they said they weren't.
Mm-hmm. Maybe it will be a toss-up between Last of Us and Cyberpunk for Best Game of 2021.
Yeah, I think that Cyberpunk actually had the highest crunch in the industry in 2020.
Mm.
I don't know that for a fact, but I definitely suspect it to be the worst crunch game of 2020. Yeah, the new best crunch category. Yeah, that would be really fitting.
Would Captain Crunch take that too?
No. Cyberpunk's got to win it. But, if they introduced Captain Crunch into Cyberpunk, and then they did a crossover between Captain Crunch and Keanu Crunch? Captain Keanu? Or Keanu Crunch? And then you did that, and then it would just implode the internet.
Mm-hmm.
Somebody work on that meme. Somebody work down that meme. Captain Keanu or Keanu Crunch. Somebody work on that meme.
Mm-hmm. And of course, speaking about Cyberpunk again, its ramifications in the industry, it once again caused that explosion of horrible takes when it comes to crunching. The developer of Duke Nukem apparently went on a huge stink about Kotaku's article, saying that just attacking the employees of Naughty Dog who left, and just being a very misguided take, sort of considering that he spent 14 years in development trying to make Duke Nukem Forever.
Mm-hmm.
And again, we've spoken about crunch before on as one of our major topics. And to reiterate, individual crunch, as in you're doing on your own end for your own project, that is okay. It's not the best case scenario, but it is something that, if you are in control of it, that is okay. It,
Yeah, but you should also try to not do it at the
yeah.
same time, because when you crunch, you're making yourself work slower,
Mm-hmm.
essentially. Now then, if you're limiting it, like I do, like I'll go through a phase when there's nothing for me to do because I'm waiting on other team members, kind of thing, and
Mm-hmm.
and I'm sitting here like just maybe finding an hour or two to work on the game a week, kind of thing, and then all of a sudden, hey, we're progressing in another area. It opens this door that I can go through and do all this kinds of work and everything, and I'm working like
Mm-hmm.
50, 60 hours a week, kind of thing, but then I make sure that I take breaks, and the more I work, the more I take breaks, kind of thing.
Yeah. When it goes beyond, is if somebody is telling you you need to work an additional 30 hours this week or you're not going to get paid, or trying to turn into a little game. Whoever gets the most crunch this week gets the shiny blue token that gets
That
you
will give you money.
5%. What was that?
That will give you money.
Yeah. It'll give you additional 5% bonus only if the game sells 92 average on Metacritic.
Yeah. Hello, in the sticks. Yeah, that's really bad. And like even in single development or small teams, kind of thing, you really need to avoid crunch as much as possible, kind of thing,
Mm-hmm.
because as you work more, you become tired, and when you become tired, you become less efficient, meaning that you get less work. And I know I had an issue with this, like on my Discord kind of thing, where somebody was watching, like tags on Discord, seeing that I was playing a game or whatever. It's like I just got finished working 12 hours on the game, and they're like, "Why are you playing a game? Why don't you work on the game instead of playing a
Mm-hmm.
game?" And it's like,
You need
because I
that break.
because I'm not going to crunch, kind of thing.
Mm-hmm. And again, ultimately, this is the big point that when crunch happens, it means something went wrong. And I think a lot of people, immediately get either, they get triggered, or when they hear wrong, it raises, the air raid siren in their head. That, they don't want to be told that they did something not right. But
Mm-hmm.
ultimately, that is the issue, or that's the challenge of game development. There is no one way to develop a game, just as is we can't sit here and tell you exactly, if you follow these 10 easy steps, you will never crunch in a game project.
Yeah. Um. The thing is that when the way that I would explain, like self crunching in a to make a game, kind of thing, the way I would describe that in its in its best terminology, I think, would be like you play a game and you get you're so into that game, you're so in the mode, kind of thing, and the next thing you look at the clock and you started playing this at like 7 o'clock in the morning, and now you look at the clock and it's 9 or 10 o'clock of the night. It's like, holy crap, I didn't realize that it was just that long. I need to go grab me something to eat, kind of thing.
Mm-hmm.
That same thing kind of can happen in game development, kind of thing. And if you lose yourself because you're just having so much fun and everything,
Mm-hmm.
it's not stressful. It is causing you to lose rest in theory, kind of thing. But you're not, you're definitely overworking yourself, but you're not suffering a lot of the repercussions from that because you were enjoying it in the mood and in the mode, kind of thing.
Mm-hmm.
Like you lost track of time, kind of thing. Where being like, yeah, you need to put more hours in, from your boss, and you can't go home, you can't do things you want to do. You're getting those negative drawbacks in your psychology and everything, and it's a punish, not just something you want to do. So like, you shouldn't be working more than 8 hours in general, kind of thing.
Yeah.
40 hours
And
a week.
oh, and to Mike's comment, I haven't unfortunately heard from Rob. I think 2K may have kidnapped him. Maybe he's stuck in a loot box.
He might be.
And yeah, and that's one thing they said about with Hades development, that the team explicitly said that you were not allowed to crunch, and you had to. I think you had to mandatory take. I think like 24 days off a year or something like that. Like they try to make things as smooth as possible. And yeah, it's something that I think. I'm not sure if I spoke with Jamie about this or Ramin, but like Shark said, like everyone eventually hits that point where more hours doesn't mean more quality. It just puts you on zombie mode. And while that can help if you're doing a very, low technical skill or, something like assembly line work, if you're trying to be creative and do something that, you can't really turn off your brain to do, you're just kind of burning hours without doing anything productive.
Yeah. You're just putting more hours in for nothing.
Mm-hmm.
Or more hours for a negative, rather. And, that is exactly right, because, like, it's, I wouldn't say it's fine, but it's doable for, things you can turn off your brain for.
Yeah. But if you're trying to like build a new game system or create some like new innovative level, spending 80 hours with no breaks is not really going to work. You may make something at the end of it. It may not. It's probably not going to be the best thing that you can make.
Yeah, I know what a game jam is, Mike, and I broke the code for it on the very first time because I learned the secret to game jams. That's sleeping, and taking breaks. Because on my very first game jam, I was quite successful with it, and I basically had to finish game in 2 days because I, slept between day 2 and day 1, and day 3, I not only slept between day 2 and day 3, but then I went out and met with my parents and spent a couple hours with my parents and had my mom play my game at that point, and she gave me some feedback and everything, and then I took that back home, worked on the feedback, and then I ran out of that, and then it was like, well, let me just add some more polish to this, and just added more polish until time ran out and submitted my game, and quite successful, very first game jam kind of thing. And the whole secret of it was get sleep. Don't crunch.
Don't get good.
Technically,
get
you're
sleep.
still crunching because you're still working like 16 hours a day, kind of thing. But get sleep. Don't maximum crunch. And the whole 16 hours a day will only work in a 3-day game jam. If you can take 3 days and just go hardcore 16 hours a day. Especially since you're really excited and really want to work on it, because you only have 3 days to work on it, and you have this new idea that you want to pull off in 3 days. So it gives you, it doesn't pull all the negative psychology on your brain from that will really, really hurt your productivity.
Yeah. And I think in terms of time, I think we'll probably wrap things up in like the next like 10 minutes or so. But like bringing this back to Cyberpunk, that again, part of the issue, it's just sound. There you go, Foreign, perfectly. I don't know. That could be part of Cyberpunk 2078's development, maybe.
It could have been part of Last of Us.
That when we look at these games, especially when we talk about prestige AAA, that I am really surprised so many people, again, fanboyism aside, that more people aren't complaining. Like, imagine again, like we saw this with Bethesda. Fallout 76 was released in a very buggy and broken state. And, people, rake their feet over the coals accordingly for that.
Mm-hmm. It was quite a mess.
Mm-hmm.
Quite a mess.
And,
again,
yeah,
Amazon very much does a crunch and everything else, too.
Mm-hmm. And the issue, of course, is, and this is part of the problem we talk about this, is that people will, when we say who's to blame, they're going to immediately attack QA testers or the people on the dev team. And that, again, is that issue when we talk about, and bringing this back to the Game Awards, the misunderstanding of what it means to actually develop a game, or people in the industry.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think anyone on the dev team of Cyberpunk said to themselves, we need to have all these bugs in this game.
Nope. They were saying we need to get all these bugs out of there before they force us to release this thing, before the marketing people and all this other stuff force it in there.
Yeah.
They were actively fighting against it.
And we didn't mention this point yet. Cyberpunk received, what was it, like a day one patch that was the size of the game.
Mm-hmm.
And this is another big dichotomy about the game industry. There are people who celebrated that, saying, oh, they work on the game so much, I had so much for day one. The real truth is, that's horrible. Like, how much, crunch did they do to make a patch of that size to have it ready for release day?
Well, I have a feeling that patch was that the marketing department really pushed forward with making the CDs, back on one of the release dates that they missed.
Mm-hmm.
And they because they were like, it's gold now, even though it's not. And then they just started having all the CDs printed up, and then everything after that point is what the day one patch was.
Mm-hmm.
Which was just solid crunch, by the way.
Yeah. And the problem, of course, with all about this is that it's still celebrated. How many people, again, they've said that Cyberpunk has already made back its development costs. Mm-hmm. So, all the bugs, all the crunch, all those issues didn't mean a damn thing.
Nope.
And
not to the consumers who wanted to pre-order it.
And I'm going to put on my fortune teller hat right now and predict that it's going to probably be up for at least 3, maybe 4 Game Awards in 2021.
Game Award awards?
Yeah.
Yeah, probably.
And it will most likely win them.
And Keanu will be there.
Mm-hmm. Maybe Keanu can present the award to Keanu.
He probably will.
Yeah. And to kind of bring, again, like, our discussion today regarding the Game Awards and, Cyberpunk are very much intertwined like that. It is this triple A monster when it comes to this kind of development that is very much outside of what it means to, successfully release a game.
Mm-hmm. Well, I meant it is that, but Cyberpunk, I think, is in there with that.
Mm-hmm. So the chat says that it's not going to be progressive enough to win an award, but it will make a lot of money. So, where does it fall on the scale? The Game Awards, progressiveness or making money?
I'm leaning towards making money and paying money.
Mm.
And I'm pretty sure Cyberpunk is going to pay a lot of money to get an award.
Mm. Maybe we'll
team with the Game Awards like money.
Well, we'll see, folks. We'll check back in 365 days from right now, and we'll see what happens.
Isn't it 64?
Oh 63? Yeah. Oh, actually, it would be a little less than that because wasn't the Game Awards on Thursday, right? Yeah, the 10th. So 362 days from now.
Ah. So now we have the precise day nailed down.
We'll
Check
see.
back here in exactly those amount of days, and don't worry about any of the videos that are made between now and then, right?
Oh, and another thing that I heard that also ballooned the budget was when they really pushed hard into LGBTQ plus representation, because I don't think that was part of the original game. And then they got called out for some of their advertising in it.
Yeah. Like, I mean, like, I feel like there should be representation, but it shouldn't be pushed, kind of thing. It should just be natural, kind of thing. Like, they're, you know, like, they're okay. When you look in reality, I mean, there's probably a few people like this, but for the most part, nobody walks up to you and be like, you know, and the first words they say is, "Hey, I'm a trans person," you know, kind of thing. Or hey, you know, I'm black. It's like, I can see that, you know. Hey, I'm white. Hey, I'm Asian. You know, like, nobody does that pretty much. I mean, there's probably a few idiots that do that, but excluding the few rare idiots that do that kind of thing, there's probably not anybody that does that. But you often see that exact thing in games that pander to people, kind of thing. And, you know, I feel like that a game, you know, can have a trans character that never says anything about being trans, kind of thing. You can, you know, you probably can tell it in some ways, but it's not like, you know, just here glowing in your face, it's a trans character kind of thing.
Or just
Like,
being the token character as well.
Yeah. Because, like, I mean, that's exactly what we're doing in my current game. Like, there are characters that, you know, have different ethnicities, different sexual preferences, you know, whether they're gay, bi, trans, whatever. But there's nothing that's sad about it. You know, which some people will probably, you know, attack the game and be like, hey, there's none of it in there, you know. And then people will reference back to this podcast where I said it was in there. And it's just not overstated. And then there'll be an argument over it for months and months and months. And, you know, you'll have all the views. We'll both have all the views on this video because of that.
Nice.
So expect that to come, and expect this, you know, like, video to go from like 100 views up to, you know, or however many he gets to, you know, 300,000, 300 million. Kind of thing.
And to Foreign's comment, yep. All right, but I think with that point, I think, out of topics for Cyberpunk. So, anything you want to end on regarding Cyberpunk's development, Shark?
Let's see here. Is there anything we missed that I can remember? I don't think so. Like honestly, I'm really interested in the game. But there are a lot of red flags. Actually, they're like neon flags. There's a lot of neon flags all over it. And I'm going to wait until they fix the game or until it goes on deep sale, like sub $20. Like, if it goes sub $20 before they fix everything, I'll probably pick it up. But, you know, otherwise, I'm going to be waiting on fixing it up, because the fact is the way the game is right now, I don't think it's worth $20. And, you know, I hope they fix it up and, you know, it becomes worth $20+ kind of thing. But, you know, I'm going to hold off until that point, and, you know, or unless I really need to buy it for research purposes for my current game, but I don't think I do. But I'm not going to support the crunch and all this other stuff as much as I possibly can.
Yeah, and like for me with The Witcher 3, I waited until it was like $12. It was like 6 years after it was released or something like that. So I can be very patient when it comes to waiting for games to go on sale.
Yeah. So can I. Like, you can always do the 2-hour run and then come back to it when it actually goes on deep sale. But I'm not even going to do that. But
Alright.
yeah, I mean, like, there's a good game in there, I think. This is just a question of how much they ruined to stack on top of it to ruin that. And will they ever get it fixed to where it is actually a good game again? That's a real question.
Alright. But I think with that, we will wrap things up for this week. Those of you watching this live, or I'm sorry, watching this record, let us know what you think about switching the focus and doing the weird games as its own show. We will be probably doing, I think from the comments, we'll probably try that live sometime this week, and we'll make an announcement on our respective Discords when we have that date. Again, for those of you watching me, we have 2 devcasts lined up. One going to be on Tuesday at 4, and the next one will be Wednesday at 3. That'll be right here on this channel. And you can follow me on Twitter at GWBicer.
And, here on my channel, we have the Nexus Games LLC channel. We have this, of course, the Simply Stream podcast every Sunday. We have the dev streams every Friday. And where we work on Neon Continuum, a cyberpunk-based game. Well, it's like a little bit over a fifth cyberpunk, but, it's a sci-fi game with a lot of cyberpunk in it. And we also have, on Tuesday, we do our game streams. And, eventually we're going to be doing, now I'm blanking on the name. The show we were just talking about, the
Weird Games?
Weird Games. The Weird Games. We'll be doing the Weird Game live over here on some day whenever we figure out what day that's going to be on. And, yeah. And we'll be probably adding more stuff to the channel. And you can come and follow us on Discord and Twitter at Nexus Games LLC 1. And the YouTube channel and whatnot. And come and talk and ask questions about game development, ask questions about Neon Continuum,
Mm-hmm. And of course, subscribe to our channels, do that bell ringing thing that everyone keeps mentioning, and all that stuff.
Yeah, because, I don't see bell ringing important for most channels, but it is really important for live streams because if you don't, put the bell, then you won't ever catch them live. You'll only catch it recorded, which is the wrong way to catch them, in my opinion. Because, why catch it, recorded when you can catch it live and actually talk? And there's Matthew right as we're ending.
Yeah. And this way you can throw questions that knock us off our topics as well.
Yeah. Or comments that knock us off.
Mm-hmm. All right. So I think with that, we will end things for this week. So again, tune in next time for another discussion. And like Shark said, we do these shows around 4:30 ET on Sundays. Have a great rest of your night. I'll be back for our regular game streams. And come back for daily discussions on game design here and on game wisdom, where I examine the art and science of games. Until next time, take care.